The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
This week on BCIT Magazine.
Increasing the smoking age to reduce the number of young smokers.
Demonstrators are angered over a controversial park board decision.
And Burnaby High School students prepare for a robotics competition.
Hello and welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Anissa Hetherington.
And I'm Justice Doucette. British Columbians could soon see the legal smoking age be raised to 21. Our reporter Coey Taylor has more on how this could affect the number of smokers within the province.
Over the past couple of decades, smoking has become less popular among British Columbians. In 1994, about 45% of the province's youth had tried tobacco, but as of 2013, fewer than 15% had experimented with the substance. Anti-smoking advocates say many barriers have been successfully implemented, but more should be done.
You want to denormalize tobacco use, and another way to denormalize it is to make it unavailable through increasing the age, for example, to make it not normal to smoke.
Medical experts say increasing the legal age of smoking in the province could prevent youth from becoming long-term smokers.
I think that 21 years old are much better equipped to make his own choices, make decisions, or come up with an informed decision based on what he sees and what he reads.
Research suggests the longer a person is exposed to chemicals found in tobacco, the more harm will be done. Youth are also more likely to give in to peer pressure or make rash decisions.
Raising the age will not revolutionize tobacco consumption in young people, but it will have an effect.
Scott MacDonald and the BC Lung Association say smokers will likely develop complications over time, so extinguishing the desire to smoke at a young age is top priority. Coey Taylor in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
We're now joined by reporter Coey Taylor. Coey, why do experts believe that 21 is the appropriate legal age?
The experts I spoke to said that it's very rare for young people to take up the habit of smoking at the age of 21 because by then they understand the consequences and are less likely to be affected by things such as peer pressure. Research also suggests that people begin smoking around the high school years.
And as you mentioned in the story, the number of BC youth who smoke has decreased in recent decades. Why is that?
There are a number of reasons why young people have decided not to smoke, a large one being that it's less accepted within society. We're not allowed to smoke indoors, in some public spaces, and as well as airplanes. And experts say that older generations aren't smoking as much, which makes young people less inclined to follow suit. Back to you.
Thanks, Coey. New BC liquor laws came into effect this week, allowing for a range of businesses to apply for liquor licenses. This law will allow salons, bookstores, and other non-traditional venues to sell alcohol to their customers.
The public may have a say in the debate over cetaceans being held captive at the Vancouver Aquarium. As Magna Dillon reports, a recent park board meeting stirred up some controversy.
John Nightingale! Shame! 41 dead cetaceans! Way to go, John!
Animal campaigners are upset after the Vancouver Park Board delayed a motion considering a plebiscite on keeping whales and dolphins in captivity at the Vancouver Aquarium.
We're a little disappointed tonight that they've put it off to a committee meeting, which means there's a delay, asking for public consultation, which of course the whale referendum is the public consultation.
Commissioner Sarah Kirby-Young put forward a motion for a referendum on cetaceans in captivity, but the board deferred the decision to a later meeting.
I think that it's a tough issue, and I think that when you have tough issues, you have to stand up and deal with them. And the plebiscite was an attempt to give a voice to Vancouverites, and now they've been denied that opportunity.
Young's motion comes after belugas Aurora and Keela died at the Vancouver Aquarium last November. Critics say a vote is necessary, but are worried waiting for the 2018 municipal election is too late.
Torturing them, stop killing them until the public has a chance to speak.
Commissioner Catherine Evans says she's hopeful that the aquarium will have alternatives.
I suspect they know as well as everybody else does where public opinion is moving, and I think that it's going to happen at some point, and maybe it can happen sooner.
The park board is set to meet in a month to consult further with the public. Magna Dillon in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Our reporter Magna Dillon now joins us. Magna, why did the park board choose to put the ban on hold?
Commissioners are saying they want further options. They're saying those could vary from seeking a plebiscite on Vancouver's civic ballot in 2018 to proposals that some believe could provide quicker results than a vote that is almost 2 years away.
And did the aquarium have anything to say about this referendum?
CEO John Nightingale was at the meeting. However, he did not make any comments to media after. But now that the motion has been tabled, we may expect to hear from the aquarium soon. Back to you.
Coming up after the break.
A local filmmaker shares stories of women serving in the Afghan forces.
And a Vancouver musician finds inspiration in his grief.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Thousands of people marched in downtown Vancouver to raise awareness for women's rights. Our producer, Amy Quinton, sat down with one of the organizers of the event to learn about the motivation and the message behind the Women's March.
Hello, we're sitting here with co-organizer of the Women's March, Lisa Langevin. Lisa, welcome.
Thank you.
So Lisa, tell us about Saturday. What was the march like?
Oh, it was fantastic. We were told by the police that there were over 15,000 people, and there were people from every walk of life and every age. We had little kids. One of my favorite pictures that I saw afterwards was a little First Nations girl sitting on her dad's shoulders, and she was holding a sign that obviously she had drawn, and it was just scribbled. It was so cute. So we had all ages, people with disabilities, people from very diverse faiths and races, and it was a fantastic event.
So what message did you hope people took away from the march? You said there was a diverse group of people. What do you hope stays with them?
Really two different messages. One, you have 15,000 people who have your back. And two, it's up to each one of us to stand up on a daily basis for what we know is right.
So what's next? Is there going to be another march? Are you going to get involved again?
Yeah, I don't know. I need a minute to breathe. Haven't had that yet. Certainly the national group of organizers in Canada are starting to put together some ideas. In the US, they've already started. They had a lot more time to plan. So they have 10 actions in 100 days planned. It's very US based, and so here in Canada we think it's important that we have something that's much more Canadian based. So the national organizers across Canada will be meeting on a conference call later this week, and then we'll figure out what what's going to be coming next.
Why do you think it's important? I mean, you know, this is the American president we're talking about and American policies. Why do you think it's important for Canadians to get involved?
Yeah, if the march was about Trump, I wouldn't have organized, and I don't think we would have seen 15,000 people out there. It was not about politics. It was not about one man. It was about attitudes that all of us have seen in our own communities, and it was about us standing up to say, this is not okay for my community. It's not as much about what's happening in the US, although all of us are concerned about that, but it really was about standing up for our neighbors and for our brothers and sisters and saying this is not okay, and we stand with immigrants, we stand with LGBTQ, we stand with people of different races and people from diverse faiths.
Well, thanks very much for joining us, Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
Simon Fraser University has formed its own Aboriginal Reconciliation Council. Our reporter Jaylene Matthews found out what reconciliation efforts look like at the university level.
Simon Fraser University recently announced they will allocate $9 million over the next 3 years to fund initiatives that support Indigenous reconciliation. The university's Aboriginal Reconciliation Council has been tasked with creating recommendations on how the funds will be dispersed. Kyle Bobawash is a student representative on the council and a PhD candidate in the sciences department. He is an advocate for a supportive and inclusive educational system.
We're lucky enough here at SFU to have a nice chunk of money to actually begin the process of reconciliation. So our major goal really is to look at how to retain and recruit First Nations people better and how to really path their way to success in a better fashion than we've been doing.
Public forums have been held over the past year, which discussed what the best possible outcomes for the funding might be. Some of the major recommendations included cultural sensitivity training for university staff, the construction of a Coast Salish longhouse on campus, incorporation of Indigenous knowledge into the curriculum and creating degrees in Aboriginal languages, and archiving and sharing the true stories of residential school survivors. Bobawash stresses that awareness is one of the key components in the journey of reconciliation.
Until you start creating a certain level of knowledge of First Nations, you won't be able to dispel a lot of these myths that are the causes of a lot of the racism we see in Canada.
Council member William Lindsay says that he sees a hopeful future for reconciliation in Canada.
It's the first time in my lifetime that I've seen non-Aboriginal Canada really accepting of what we see happening in this country with regards to knowledge about residential schools being spread about and the idea of reconciliation being spread about what it means and even how it's affecting what's happening at this university. It's I think goes to show the acceptance of the knowledge of what's happened and how we can move forward together.
The council will submit their recommendations to SFU's president's office in February. Jaylene Matthews in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
A local filmmaker has risked her life to share the stories of women serving in Afghanistan. Nicole Chenard has more on her life-changing experience.
It's a beautiful day at Crescent Beach in White Rock. Men and women are free to enjoy the ocean breeze, breathtaking views, and the surrounding nature. But as filmmaker Alison McLean discovered, this is not the reality for women in Afghanistan.
It's really difficult working in the Middle East as a woman, particularly in a war zone. I did negotiate my way out of 2 abductions in Afghanistan, and that's the reality of the situation on the ground.
McLean has been working on a documentary called Burqas to Bullets since 2010. It celebrates women who serve in police and military roles in Afghanistan. This project especially hits home for Dina Safi, who works as McLean's translator.
It's my roots. I was born there. I feel deeply about Afghanistan and what the people have gone through all these years, what the people have endured. I'm super honored to be part of this and to be able to tell people and bring these stories.
Despite oppression and hostility, more and more women are stepping up to serve their country.
They're doing physical fitness training, they're doing weapons training, some of them are learning how to drive. So that's a huge stride in 6 years.
Burkas to Bullets will be screened in Vancouver on March 3rd, which is International Women's Day. Nicole Chenard in White Rock for BCIT Magazine.
Bell Let's Talk, an annual Mental Health Awareness Day, took place earlier this week. My co-anchor Justice Doucette caught up with a Vancouver musician whose loved one lost her battle with mental illness.
And this was the mood I was in, you know?
Sean Wong is one of many Canadians to have had a loved one affected by mental health and has now turned to music as his therapy.
A lot of songs I've had that were instrumentals, and it wasn't until 2013 when my girlfriend passed away that I started coming up with the words and the melodies for all these instrumentals that I had been working on for the longest time.
His band, Son of James, released their first song titled Running, which Wong says tells the story of him running away from the reality of her death.
And I remember one day I was just sitting there and just really sad and really pissed off. I grabbed my guitar and I started strumming, and I was just sitting there and just kept,
Wong recently returned from playing in Europe in 2016, and according to the band's producer, Son of James has a unique sound.
They're really hard to compare to anything else because of the erhu. It's a super unique instrument mixed with like a rock.
With inspiration from his late girlfriend, Wong hopes to help end the stigma surrounding mental health.
We need to get past the point where it's not a stigma no more, and a lot of people suffer from mental illness, and I'm a witness to it, and I've seen it. I have friends and whatnot. A lot of people are going through it.
The band hopes to release another 5 songs this summer. Justice Doucette in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine. It's the height of cold and flu season, and our reporter Paulina Wu caught up with some BCIT students to see how they're staying healthy.
There is no cure to the cold and flu. There is only prevention. So here are some of the tips that I gathered from BCIT's Burnaby campus.
Something that works for me is always wash my hands. I wash my hands, I think, 5 times a day. So I think it helps to avoid to get flu or cold.
I just say get enough sleep
if that's a word.
and eat the right foods.
Take your vitamins and get your sleep. Those will help so much. And water, lots of water.
Dress warm. Just eat healthy, I guess.
If people are coughing and not covering their mouths, to tell them, to actually explain to them that they need to cover their mouths.
Those were obviously not all the tips. Some honorable mentions were to exercise and to get the flu shot. I'm Paulina Wu in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine. Coming up after the break,
Rick Hansen pays it forward to a national women's volleyball player.
And Vancouverites get to sample some food truck favorites.
Standby graphics, ready, camera 1.
If you want to experience the fast-paced world of news,
today on BCIT Magazine, striking,
make magic on a movie set,
frame,
and action,
or bring your creative ideas to life, BCIT's hands-on training will get you started. BCIT Television and Video Production. Your possibilities start here.
The most rewarding thing for me has been the relationships I developed in the program, both with instructors and classmates.
My sense of confidence has never been higher. I mean, this program's offered great opportunities to be in real world, real industry situations, and being in those moments and knowing I can contribute, I can do this.
It's exciting to be in this industry and to meet lots of great people and to make amazing friends.
BCIT Broadcast and Online Journalism, realizing your potential.
Super Bowl's just around the corner, but if football's not your thing, take a pass on the big game and check out some of these other events.
Bring the kids down to Chinatown this Sunday to line up for this year's annual Chinese New Year's Day parade. Be sure to honor this year, the year of the rooster, by waking up early and getting a good spot along the parade route.
Be sure to check out this year's Push Festival before the clock runs out. There's art, music, and theater, so there's something for everyone.
Work up an appetite after the big game? Why not check out Canada's largest food festival, Dine Out Vancouver? Explore some of the best food the city has to offer. Check out their website for participating restaurants.
Shake off the cold and head over to this year's Winterruption Festival. Take a break from your hibernation and enjoy some local food, art, and music on Vancouver's scenic Granville Island.
The Super Bowl is a week away as Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons will be taking on Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. The Pats have made it to the championship game in 2 of the last 3 years, while the Falcons will be making their first appearance since 1999.
CFL quarterback Henry Burris officially announced his retirement this week. In Burris's 20-year career, he hoisted the Grey Cup 3 times, including most recently this past season with the Ottawa Redblacks.
Canadian tennis star Milos Raonic fell short of his second straight appearance in the Australian Open semifinals. Raonic was the highest-seeded player left in the tournament, but fell in straight sets to Rafael Nadal. UBC Tennis Center director JJ Mahoney spoke with us about Raonic's recent rise.
The biggest change in Milos' game I noticed in the past year is his return to serve. Number one, he's getting more balls in play against the high-level players. Number two, his movement is so much better. He's getting around the court better. His footwork is sharp. He moves side to side better. So overall, I would say that's his big gain, and I think that might be his latest coach. I think he's ready this year to challenge for the world number one, and I really mean that. I think he's number 3 now. Made the finals of Wimbledon last year, and I think he's ready to take his first slam.
Adam Hadwin became the first Canadian golfer to shoot a 59, doing so in the PGA's Career Builder Challenge. It's just the 8th 59 in PGA Tour history, and 1 shot off the lowest round in Tour history, a 58 shot by Jim Furyk back in August.
A national women's volleyball player got a special nod from Canadian icon Rick Hansen.
Rick is best known for his men and motion tour.
Hansen honored Danielle Brisebois with the Difference Maker Scholarship for her efforts as a student athlete and community leader.
Volleyball has been a huge part of our entire family's life, and so we've received so much, and we want to give back and sort of create the Difference Maker Award and to be able to contribute to people who not only are here because of their athletic ability or their academic ability, but they care about individuals, they care about community, and they step up to pay it forward.
Hansen says that Brisebois is an incredibly positive and hardworking member of the volleyball community. The power hitter has her sights set on Team Canada again this summer and professional volleyball in Europe upon graduation.
And what an incredible recipient, and I couldn't think of a better person to receive the award.
Brisebois and her Thunderbird squad are gunning for the Canada West playoffs and are currently ranked 4th in the nation.
A local high school is exploring the growing field of robot technology. Our reporter Gino Kutri met with students who are sharing their passion for robotics through competition.
Dylan McLean is making final improvements to his robot he calls 502A as a provincial competition approaches. He is a grade 12 robotics student at Alpha Secondary in Burnaby. The robots built in this class are designed to compete in VEX robotic competitions. The bots must catch, lift, and throw these VEX stars over a fence that separates the ring in 2 halves. The first robot to have all the objects on the opponent's side wins the competition. McLean explains the complexity of the machine.
So it uses compressed air to power linear pistons to fire cubes and stars across the field. It also uses 10 electric motors to lift the arm and power the drive to get it around the field and get the arm up into position to throw the cubes and stars onto the other side of the fence.
The students have put over 300 hours into their robots and have even taken them home on weekends for extra tinkering. Course instructor Russell Levinsky explains the impact robotics can have on the future careers of these students.
So what we've been trying to do with this program is make it designed for either going into robotics, mechatronics, mechanical engineering, CNC programming, with those kind of aspects.
In the meantime, the students will continue to perfect their bots in time for the provincial championships in March. Gino Coutry in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
Food trucks are one feature of this year's Dine Out Festival. Our reporter Jaylene Matthews checked out Street Food City.
Although it's cold outside, one of the hottest places in the city right now is Robson Square. It's the 6th annual Street Food City hosted by Dine Out Vancouver, and with a record number of 24 trucks this year, there may be something for everyone.
There's every culture is represented here. We have Indian and Vietnamese and Italian, grilled cheese sandwiches, you name it.
The festival brings Vancouver's vibrant variety of food truck choices together on one block for 1 week.
So opportunities to feast from all of the food trucks at the same time, whereas normally they'd be scattered throughout the city. So we have tables and tents and chairs and some street food music and whatnot, and all the vendors here for a great midwinter festival.
The cold weather doesn't stop the crowds as hungry patrons hit the streets to taste the city's meals on wheels.
My family are visiting from New Zealand and we saw it and it's something we've never seen before, so that's why we're here. Yeah, try something new.
They're very tasty and I didn't think I would get a chance to try one of these anytime soon, so today's the day. I am all about food trucks. I watched the Great Food Truck Race on TV and I'm just like, food trucks, so yeah. I want to try the wood fire pizza too.
So we just come to check out just what's here and see what's best. This is good.
Street Food City can be found outside the Vancouver Art Gallery all weekend. Jaylene Matthews in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Oscar nominations were released this week, with La La Land coming out as a clear favorite, with a record-tying 14 nominations. In the past, the Academy was criticized for lacking diversity, but this year, voters chose the largest number of Black nominees ever.
If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitbroadcastnews.ca. I'm Anissa Hetherington.
And I'm Justice Doucette. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of BCIT Magazine. We leave you now with more footage from UBC Volleyball.